Hello, this is Chuck Ridgway, Automation Technology Manager at Horner. Thanks for joining us for another Tuesday live stream. Well, this week I had every intention of showing off the new Canvas Ethernet IP scanner capability as it controls a Festo valve bank. And all my preliminary work with Ethernet IP and the valve bank went beautifully. And then I looked at the pneumatic parts that I ordered and discovered I ordered some of the wrong ones. So you can't fit a hose this big in a hole that big. That doesn't work. So instead of doing kind of a half-baked job of the video today, we're going to hold off on that one for a couple weeks while I get the right parts in and can do a much better job. But today we've got a great video for you. This week, I got a question from my colleagues at Horner Canada. They were looking for some additional guidance on video playback and Canvas. And I realized that we've covered video playback with some of our other products, like the XL series, for instance, and the X5, but we've never covered it for Canvas. And Canvas has some unique capabilities the others do not. So today we have a short, concise, but important topic for you. Let's get started. Here's how we're breaking down the topic today. We'll spend a minute talking about why you might want to add video playback capability to your machine. And then we'll go through the video playback capabilities in Horner controllers, because more than just the Canvas has the capability, although Canvas's capability is the best that we offer. We'll go into the Canvas video object, which is very handy indeed. We'll talk about the types of files that you can play on the Canvas from a video standpoint. We'll show you how to convert an existing video file into one that you can play on Canvas, and there will be plenty of demonstrations throughout. All right, here we go. Okay, so why might you decide that you want to be able to play videos on your machine control? Well, really the biggest and primary reason is help videos. The ability to provide information in a form that people want to use to learn with, and that's video, to do things like train operators, to show how to maintain the machine, how to execute common repairs. All those sorts of things are potential help videos you may want to have available directly on your machine. It can result in much more efficient training of operators for the folks that use your equipment. It could increase the uptime even, because they're going to see how to do the maintenance and maybe do it more often. And it should reduce your support calls as well. And as I mentioned a minute ago, watching videos is certainly one of the primary ways people like to learn today. Now, today we're talking about Canvas and its video capability, but the XL Prime also has basic video playback capability. It is limited in resolution to quarter VGA. At least that's typical. I think the X5 Prime can do a little better than that. And you have to build your own playback control. So in other words, it doesn't have an integrated play, pause, start, stop capability built into the traditional video playback object that's available with the Prime. Now with Canvas, you've got additional capabilities. Yes, it does have a comprehensive video object that has all the playback controls built right into it. That's very convenient. It can play higher resolution source files. That's convenient. And it also supports full screen playback. So lots of reasons why Canvas is superior when it does come to playing video files on the machine. Okay, now the comprehensive video object that's available in Canvas, part of our enhanced or advanced graphics that's available in Cscape 10 for Canvas. You can see here we've got a diagram showing all the built-in playback controls. You've got a play pause button. You have a restart video button. You can press that button. It'll restart the video from the beginning. If you just want to stop playback altogether, there's a stop button. Also, there is a button you can press and you can loop the video repeatedly. So if the operator wants to watch it over and over again, they can put it in a looping mode. Very handy is the fact that you can watch the video full screen, and there is a expand to full screen button available as well. And then it's hard to see on this particular graphic, but up above number 6, there is a screen jump button that you can configure to jump to a specific screen once you're done playing the video, or maybe during playing the video. That basically is going to allow the operator to navigate either back to where they were before or to some other screen that you choose. Now, you can't just take any old video file and put it on a memory card and play it back on a Horner OCS. Remember, the Horner OCS is primarily a PLC, so it has to be able to play video and still do its job perfectly, the important job of controlling the machine. So most of the video files that you may want to play on Canvas is going to start out maybe as a 1080p or a 4K resolution file with a high bit rate. But before you play it back on Canvas, you need to transcode that file to a compatible file specification. Now, in terms of the program that we recommend for transcoding, this isn't the only one that will work, but certainly HandBrake is a transcoding program available for Windows, Mac, even Linux. It's free and open source, and it's definitely one we recommend, and I'm going to show you how to use that here in a minute. All right, now, what video specifications are we looking to support? Here are the maximum, I guess I'll call them maximum video specifications for the most part. And in yellow, probably the recommended video specification for running on Canvas. Now, a couple things I want to mention. First of all, I think I put 24 frames per second as the recommended frame rate. Either 24 frames per second or 30 frames per second will work perfectly fine. One isn't necessarily better than the other. 24 frames per second takes up a little less size, if you will, of course, since there's fewer frames per second. Bit rate is very important. I've picked 250 kilobits per second. That's probably the number one area that people forget about, and that is that the bit rate of the video, in other words, how many bits make up each frame, is very important, because what you play on your television, movies, and those sorts of things has a very high bit rate, and that's not going to fly on a product like a Canvas. So 250K provides really nice results at an acceptable bit rate. Okay, so how are you going to be able to get your videos to this specification before you put them on a memory card and play them back in Canvas? Well, that's where you use HandBrake, that program I talked about a couple slides ago. And to make it even easier, I've created what are called HandBrake custom presets for Canvas 7, Canvas 5, Canvas 4. The one for Canvas 7 will work on the 7D and the 10D as well. And this is going to make it really easy for you to get the appropriate settings for the file that you want to play back for the particular Canvas target that you're going to run it on. So included in the demo files for this week's video are some JSON files that will allow you to have these presets on your copy of HandBrake just by importing them. And I'm going to show you how to do that next. All right, so we're going to go ahead and prepare a video file using HandBrake and the presets that I created. Let's fire up HandBrake, which I've downloaded. Again, it's a free open source transcoder. All right, I'll cancel out of this view. And let's get started by importing the Canvas presets that I created. That way we can be sure we've got the specs right. So we can go to the preset menu, import from file. I've already imported the preset for the Canvas 4. Now I've imported the Canvas 5 preset. Let's import the 7 next, 7, 7D, and 10D. Again, these are JSON files. Okay, those are files that you can download from the web. They should be affiliated with this particular video on our website. Okay, so now we've got the presets that we need. Let's go ahead and do a transcoding of a video that we want to play. So let's open the source file. Okay. And again, I will pick this video here that is currently in 1080p. Okay, and I'm going to want to play that on a 7-inch. So under presets, I'm going to make sure I select my Canvas 7 preset. Okay, and then I'm going to need to give it a file name. Now this file name should be, for best case scenario, it should be 8.3 format. Okay, so I've set my file name the way I want it. I'll hit start encode. And now it'll take, I would guess it's probably going to take, on my particular computer, we're probably looking at about 30 seconds or so to encode this file, which is it's about a 30-second long file. All right, I've got it set up for 2-pass encoding to improve the quality a bit. Okay, looks like we're going to end up a little beyond 30 seconds with this encode, but nothing too lengthy. And then we are. The transcode is finished, and now we've got a file that we can copy onto our memory card and play on the Canvas controller. Okay, so what does it take to configure the video object in Cscape? Well, this slide is a nice summary that tells you what's involved, and we're going to go through this in a little bit of detail when we do the Cscape demo here in a minute. But basically, you're going to select Playback to play a video instead of Stream, because remember, you can also stream live video from a USB camera with Canvas. That's another capability it has. You have to assign a trigger variable as well as a status variable. And you select your aspect ratio. Do you want a 16:9, a 4:3, or just a variable aspect ratio? And then you decide what you want your jump button to do that's embedded in the video object. So you need to configure that as well. Now, in terms of the trigger variable and the status variable, here are the meaning of those particular variables. Now, I'll be honest with you, from a trigger variable standpoint, that might be a variable you assign and never even use, because remember, playback controls are built right into the object, so the operator can take care of starting and stopping, pausing and playing on their own. And then the status variable meaning is shown on the right. That can be useful to determine if maybe the file's not present, maybe you named it wrong, or maybe you removed the memory card or something. And if you create a video with an incompatible frame rate, it's going to let you know that as well. Okay, now let's dive into the Cscape configuration and see how things run on the bench. All right, let's take a look at our Cscape program for playing back the video. I've got a couple screens I created here. The first is just a standard screen with a couple data fields and a jump button to jump to the screen containing the video object. Okay, so here's my video object. You can find that under Live Graphics Data. There's the video object. You drag it on the screen, size it approximately to the size you're looking for, and then you double click to configure it. Here's how I configured mine. You select Playback here to play back a file. And then if you just want to type in the name of the file, then you put it within single quotes. And since my file is in the root directory of the micro SD card, I don't have to put any path information in here at all. If you decide to play a video from USB, then you need to have a B path as a prefix here, B:. Okay, you have to configure a unique set of triggers. This is 8 consecutive bits, so I've got a variable array here. And then you need a 16-bit status variable as well. We talked about what the meaning of both of these variables are with one of the slides that I just showed you. From an aspect ratio standpoint, if you select 4:3 or 16:9, it's going to resize the window that you originally placed on the screen to that aspect ratio. If you select variable aspect ratio, it just allows you to select whatever shape you'd prefer for a viewing window, and then it will fit that video within that window. And then down here, we've got an integrated jump button. In my case, I'm just simulating an escape key, and the jump button that got me to this screen allows escape to return. Okay, so that's really all the configuration that's required. All right, let's take a look at how things look on the bench. I have my screen here where I have a link to, or a jump button, I should say, to the page containing the help file. I can press the play icon here. You can see the video starts to play, and we've got captions, which I burned into the video. We can go full screen here. We have the option to pause and to play. We also have the option to have the video loop and repeat after it's done. Okay, So again, what's nice about Canvas, one of the things in terms of video is the fact that all the objects, the controls, if you will, are built right into the video objects. You don't have to build your own. Okay, and then I can escape back to the previous screen. Okay, that does it for our technical content for today. If you'd like to interact with Horner online, of course you can do so on our website at hornerautomation.com. You'll find we have hundreds of videos on our YouTube channel. That's the Horner APG YouTube channel. And we're always very active on LinkedIn with Horner updates. Now, next week, there are no parts to order for the demonstration, so this should be going off as scheduled, but we're going to be covering advanced data logging using structures. Now, Horner has a very functional, very easy to use data logging capability that's built into Cscape, but it doesn't give you control of everything. If you want to basically create your data logging file at a particular time or a particular duration or what have you, you don't have total control over that because it's designed to make it easy. So what we're going to be doing next week is showing you how to take total control of data logging using a removable media object that utilizes structures. And I think you'll be surprised at how easy it is. It's much easier than using multiple removable media function blocks like you needed to do in the past. So we'll be covering this next week. Don't miss it. If you'd like to subscribe to our channel, don't hesitate to do so. It doesn't cost anything. And if you choose notifications when you subscribe, you'll be notified every time we go live or every time we post a new video. Okay, I have one more important announcement before we close. Those of you who watch this video periodically probably think that I'm the driving force behind all the videos. The reality is far from that. We have an entire team that works on these videos to bring them to you every week, including a very talented young producer and editor named Emily Tedder. Now, Emily had a very big weekend this past weekend as she married her longtime beau, Cole Eder. So we have a brand new editor/producer here at Horner, and that is Emily Eder. So congratulations, Cole and Emily. We wish you nothing but the best here at Horner, and we know you're going to have a great life together. Oh, and one other thing. If you're watching this video today and it's looking a little rough with a few too many rough transitions and ums and ohs, it's because I'm the one who did the preliminary edit. If it looks nice and smooth and professional like normal, it's because Emily's back and you're watching the final edit. Okay, so with that important announcement done, let's all get out there and do some good.